Greetings, prospective scribes. I hope everyone is ready to learn today because we are moving on from transcription etiquette. Today, we will begin our new unit, the history of our world Alpherus. This will not be a multi-hour lecture. No, that will be for our next lessons. This will be an introduction. And we will start today off with the largest continent, Zuthara. Yes, I know this is where most of you are from, but hold your protests. You might actually learn something new about your home. Before becoming home to humans, Zuthara was mostly dominated by sweeping grasslands and vicious predators. But as we humans started to build civilization, the grasslands were pushed back by forests that we had planted. We need wood, after all. To our northeast, two mountain ranges, the Movic Peaks and the Dunmore Range, keep the frigid winds of the Ghost Sea from blanketing our fair home with snow. As we know, we are no longer governed by monarchies, but by the four largest cities: Scorchhold, our capital, where we currently are, Arnfeld to the southeast, Vertara to the southwest, and Stillvale to our northwest. These cities form the High Council, which in turn forms the governing body of the UZF, or the United Zutharian Front. I hear some of you ask, how did the UZF come to be? And I would say that a scribe doesn't talk. To answer that question, though, the UZF came about because of the power vacuum left behind by the Kingdom of Cold and its destruction during the Great War. Now, as much as I would love to wax poetic about our beautiful home, we must move on. Grandheim, the second largest continent, is also the coldest. The home of the dwarves is very hostile to those unprepared for frigid weather. This is due to two factors: its position in the Ghost Sea and Mount Boreas, the only volcano that spews not molten fire, but ice and snow. With three distinct zones, Grandheim does not get much warmer than freezing. However, you'll find the Ironwood Pines are the warmest area of Grandheim. West of the pines, a tundra acts as a buffer for the colder north. Though this temperature is unsuitable for most plant life, survival is still possible here, but it is much more difficult. In the north, you will find a desert of snow. Only the most stubborn and hardy creatures can actually survive here, and even then it is difficult for them. Many travelers go missing here, as no one is fully prepared for the danger the north presents. Three distinct peoples live in Grandheim: hill and mountain dwarves, and elves, more specifically, wood elves. The hill dwarves are the most accepting of the three groups. They live in the western section of the Ironwood Pines, and in the tundra further west. The hill dwarves have two cities in the pines, Cogwer and Brentrim, and two in the tundra, Hagrun and Vunthoid. In the barren north, the mountain dwarves reside. Unlike hill dwarves, the mountain dwarves live in vast underground complexes known as undercities. These are Undercity Nylar, Migolern, Baldeth, and Vugom. Good luck to those who try to enter. They will not care how cold and hungry you are. Finally, wood elves share territory with hill dwarves in the Ironwood Pines. However, they occupy the eastern section all the way to the coast. Though the wood elves have not called Grandheim home for very long, they have made quite the impact. They possess two cities, Korhelm and Ansburg, though Ansburg was not originally theirs. The wood elves are not accommodating hosts and will likely kill you on sight, so do be careful to not cross into their territory. On the subject of elves, we will now talk about their home continent, Adib. First and foremost, it is a desert, not one of snow like Grandheim, but of sand and ash. You will most assuredly die of dehydration if you do not seek out the Bedouin tribes, as all water sources have dried up long before any of us came to be. There are 4 Bedouin tribes that have been recorded, and they all survive the harsh conditions of the desert differently: Clan Nimrath, Clan Zenthrim, Clan Rymal, and Clan Sin. Most of these tribes consist of high elves who refused to abandon their home after the Great War, because Adib was not always a desert, nor was it called Adib. Before the Great War, Adib was once known as Keoth. Much like Zuthara, Keoth was dominated by luscious grasslands and verdant forests, where both wood and high elves called home. However, the hordes of Afari, during the Great War, torched the plants and salted the earth, stripping the once fertile land into the desert we now know. The elves who survived the Great War were forced to adapt or leave. Most chose to leave, especially the Wood Elves, who, as we know, live in Grandheim. Some High Elves did make their way to Zuthara, though their number was small. Those that did stay in Keoth adapted to the new ecological environment and became the Bedouin tribes we know of today, and as such, renamed their once great home to a name more fitting, Adib. Less of a continent and more of a large island, Sliphia, seated within the glass-down ocean, is more ecologically diverse than the other landmasses, though this is due to outward forces. The Dragon Forest sits in the southwest. The Thornspires sit in the north. The Shriekwind Basin sits in the northwest corner. And finally, the Badlands occupy the entire east of the island. The Dragon Forest is self-explanatory. The Thornspires are rocky mesas with little to no plant life. The Shriekwind Basin is much like the Thornspires, but blanketed in snow from Mount Boreas's largest eruption, and the Badlands are fully barren due to the volcanic ash and magma lakes that dot the scarred land. The Badlands are very recent and have been slowly expanding westward, threatening to consume the entire island. The Drakarian Kingdom is seated within the Dragon Forest. The Skrak'Tir dynasty sequestered high above the Thornspires. The Shriekwind Basin is mostly occupied by prisoners from both kingdoms, though they are expected to die within its frigid lands. Much easier than a hands-on approach. The Badlands holds two factions. These are the outward forces mentioned before, and they are directly responsible for the Badlands' existence. The Dragonkin oppose the Drakarian Kingdom, while the Rot-Eaters incessantly attack the Skrak'Tir dynasty. Now, we will end today's introduction with the continent that we know least about, Ifari. Home of the Goblinoids, Ifari was once submerged within the Vulcan Sea as punishment for the Great War. However, within your lifetime, it's ascended from its prison without warning. Every expedition sent to Ifari has been lost, save one singular human. However, that survivor died shortly after returning to Zuthara and was not able to record very much of his experience. What was recorded, I will read word for word. Brackish swamp, hostile plant and animal life, killers of black minerals, goblins. Knowing this and the 100% fatality rate, the UZF has banned all travel to Ifari. If you hear of any expeditions to Ifari, these are illegal and you will most assuredly die. Some knowledge is not worth risking life and limb for. That concludes today's lesson, prospective scribes. I hope I've piqued your interest, because our next lessons will be far more in-depth. We will pick back up with Zuthara and the War of Brothers. Class dismissed.